Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiatorius. So I've got Ray the Bearded Dragon with me, and this is just really a super quick little video, completely off topic and fairly irrelevant. I'm in the process of editing a bigger video which features Lucy and is about sword restoration. But Ray was scrambling around in his tank under the heating lamp, but he was being unusually active today, and I opened up the door and he basically leapt out onto me and climbed up on me. He's a friendly little chap. As you can see, he's quite he's going all over the place at the moment. So I let him have a little run around on the floor and I stuck him on the windowsill. And something I've noticed before, but I didn't know if it was a fluke, if you're at all interested in bearded dragons or lizards in general. So I'm quite interested in zoology in general, and as I've spoken about, prehistoric creatures as well. And of course, creatures like him have been around for a super long time. He's from Australia. But there is one thing: I've put him in front of the fish tank, I've put him in the window. He loves to look at stuff, okay? And if you imagine these are things that eat bugs and shrubberies. Basically, they eat plants and they eat bugs. But the thing that I find really fascinating about him is it's very obvious, even just from watching him around the house, what his primary concerns are. In other words, the things that scare him. And one of the primary ones is birds. And I can only imagine that for a huge amount of history in Australia, these things lived in the middle of the outback with probably no natural predators for most of the time, or at least there weren't many natural ground predators around. They're probably immune to snakes and spiders and stuff like that. Probably the sort of bigger lizards that used to exist in Australia, and perhaps things like some of the large predatory birds. But the thing which are ground-dwelling birds. But the thing which he's clearly most concerned about is flying birds. And the reason I know that is because it doesn't even matter whether he's sitting near a window or he can just see out of a window on the other side of the room, on the other side of the house. He is always looking out of the window, and you look at the way that they sit with their chins up like this, a bit like meerkats, and they're always scanning the horizon, always scanning the sky. Now, I live in Surrey, in southeast of England, and we're not that far away from two different airports, Heathrow and Gatwick, and of course the smaller airports around with smaller aircraft as well. And whenever an aeroplane goes past, he's like, "Holy shit, it's an aeroplane!" And he watches it across the sky like this. Like, he takes more interest in aeroplanes than anything else. And what's amazing is how far away, like sometimes I see him look up like this. I'm like, what are you looking at? And in the absolute distance, I can see the tiny chemtrail and spot of an aeroplane flying across in the distance. His eyesight, if you've ever wondered, I suspect that their short-range eyesight isn't particularly good, but he can see so far. I'm pretty certain that he can see further than I can from the way that he tracks aeroplanes in the sky. So there we go. A completely off-topic and random video, but I find it absolutely fascinating. From having a pet like him, you can learn quite a lot about, or you can presume quite a lot about their history, the way they've evolved and the environment they lived in. And I'm completely convinced that his major worry is birds of prey flying around in the distance, much like meerkats, I guess, and that's what probably predated these little guys the most in Australia. So he's always scanning the horizon for things flying. He doesn't seem that bothered about things on the ground. It has to be said, he's not very keen on Oscar the cat, sometimes known as Cat Easton. But he has a different response to Cat Easton. He blacks up his beard. It's why they're called bearded dragons. He blacks up his beard and looks at him angrily. And I do know some people who have bearded dragons and cats, and the cats keep a safe distance away from the bearded dragons because the bearded dragons will sort of defend themselves and be a bit fighty. I've also seen him at the place where we got him from. He's a male, and there was another male bearded dragon, and they fight like nothing. You can't like put them together. You have to keep males with females or females with females, but males and males would just fight. Maybe not always, but usually. And they were either side of some glass, but they just kind of flew at each other going, "Ah!" like little dinosaurs. Right, anyway, I will see you soon. I'll get back to my editing, and you'll have a sword-related video really soon. Cheers, folks.